Deep in eastern Kentucky lies a hollow few dare to enter. Locals call it Widow's Hollow. The story goes that in the late 1800s, a small family lived there. They farmed, hunted, and raised their children. But one winter, neighbors noticed smoke stopped rising from their chimney. When spring came, someone finally ventured into the hollow. What they found was chilling. The cabin door hung open. Plates were still set on the table. A Bible was laid open on the floor. But the family was gone. They never returned. To this day, Widow's Hollow is said to be cursed. Travelers report strange lights moving through the trees. Hunters say they hear children laughing, only to turn and find no one there. The cabins left behind rot slowly, yet some say at night you can see lamplight glowing through the broken windows. One hiker swore that as he passed the hollow, he heard the sound of chairs scraping across a wooden floor. But when he looked inside, the cabin was empty. The Appalachian Mountains are soaked in blood from centuries of family feuds. The most infamous, of course, was the Hatfield and McCoy feud. Entire generations destroyed by vengeance. But there are other stories, quieter and darker. In certain hollows, they say entire bloodlines were cursed. That when one family wronged another, it was not just death that followed, but a curse that lingered in the soil. In a small Virginia town, an old story tells of the Reed family. Accused of cheating their neighbors out of land, they were cursed by a mountain preacher. Within a year, 3 of the Reed children died mysteriously. Their graves, dug on the ridge, never settled. The earth kept sinking, as if the soil refused to hold their bodies. Locals say that on certain nights, you can see figures digging on that ridge, always digging, as though they are trying to crawl out. Coal built the Appalachian economy, but it also buried thousands of men alive. In the early 1900s, mine collapses were common. Dozens would die in an instant. Some bodies were never recovered, sealed forever in tunnels of stone and coal. Survivors reported hearing voices in the darkness, whispers echoing through the shafts. Some swore they heard their dead brothers calling their names. One miner told his wife he refused to return to a certain tunnel because he heard a chorus of men singing hymns underground. When the foreman went to investigate, the tunnel collapsed just hours later. Even now, in towns with abandoned shafts, people say you can hear knocking from beneath the earth, the sound of men still trying to escape. The mountains are also a place of old magic. In western North Carolina, locals tell of the Witch of the Ridge, a woman named Eliza who lived alone, offering herbs and cures to the sick. Some called her a healer, others called her a witch. When a young boy died of fever despite her medicine, the townsfolk turned against her. They burned her cabin, drove her into the woods. She was never seen again. But the ridge where she lived became feared. Hunters reported seeing a woman in a tattered dress standing among the trees. Travelers felt hands pushing them from behind. Livestock were found drained of blood. To this day, no one builds on that ridge. Locals say Eliza still walks there, her curses etched into the land. Not all Appalachian stories are about the dead. Some are about something darker. In eastern Tennessee, there is a place called the Devil's Hollow. No one will camp there. No one will hunt there. The stories began when travelers vanished. A lantern was found hanging from a tree branch, swinging though no wind blew. Dogs refused to enter. People say the hollow belongs to something not human. Hunters speak of eyes glowing in the brush, of shadows that follow you, though nothing is there. One man claimed he saw a figure crouched in the trees, taller than any man, its face hidden, its breath rattling like a growl. He never returned to the woods. The Devil's Hollow remains empty. A place the mountain itself seems to reject. On the edge of West Virginia sits an abandoned church. The roof has collapsed. The bell is gone, but the graveyard remains. Locals who pass by say they hear hymns drifting from the ruins at night, voices of a congregation long dead. Some have seen figures walking between the graves, their forms pale, their mouths moving as though in song. One visitor claimed that as she knelt to take a photograph, she felt someone kneel beside her. When she looked, the grave next to her was freshly disturbed, though no shovel had touched it in decades. The churchyard is a reminder. Even the houses of God in these mountains cannot silence the restless dead. Chapter 8. Why the Dead Refuse to Rest. The Appalachian Mountains have seen centuries of suffering, poverty, betrayal, bloodshed, greed, families torn apart, lives buried in shallow earth. The people here believe the land remembers, that the soil itself carries memory, and where memory lingers, spirits cannot move on. Every hollow, every ridge, every mine shaft is marked by tragedy. And where tragedy is strong, the veil between the living and the dead is thin. Closing reflection tonight. We have walked the ridges and hollows of the Appalachians. We have stood in abandoned farms, haunted mines, cursed ridges, and restless graveyards. The mountains are beautiful, but beauty can be a mask. In the Appalachians, silence is never empty. The past is never gone. And the dead, no matter how deeply buried, never stay beneath the ground. So when you walk these mountains, listen closely. To the wind, to the trees, to the silence. Because sometimes, silence is not silence at all.